The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. Hosted by Dave Hondel.
Everybody wants a life that everybody wants to have. Everybody wants attention for the whole world to clap. Influencer, follow me in a way that I feel whole. Capture notification on my phone. Influencer, stand next to me in a way that we seem close.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondel. Very happy to have my guest tonight, Sohil. He's a singer, songwriter, producer out of the D.C. area. He's got a new single out called Influencer, and I listened to it. It's an amazing song, really great vibe. And so I want to bring him in and talk about that and some things that he has coming up for the future. So welcome to the show, Sohil.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Influencer is a new single. But what I want to get into is, being an indie artist and, you produce, stuff, and also you do live performances, which we got to before we recorded. But, what are your influences? I know Influencer is your song, but what influences you?
I love the tie-in. What influences me? I think I started by playing guitar and I got influenced by alternative rock. So a lot of Blink-182 and Third Eye Blind and anything that would influence a suburban kid. I've told this story before, but I picked up a guitar to try to sort of, because I thought it was the cool thing to do. It was like something that had some, I think, weight to it socially. And then I fell in love with it. And then I already was a big fan of music like early on. And I listened to, it was mainly like that alternative rock, like Linkin Park even. And me and my friends all, like, everyone had the same sort of idea of the best type of music, and we would share it with each other. I remember Green Day was really big back then, and I would hear these guitar riffs and I'd want to go and learn them on my own. And I was lucky that I came up in a time where the guitar riffs that were popular were not necessarily the hardest ones to play. So, if I had come up in like the 80s or 70s, or, it would be a little bit more sort of like daunting to start, because I feel like the guitarists may have been more complicated. But I came up in an era where Blink-182 was playing like some of the easiest guitar riffs you could play, and a beginner could grasp onto it. So I just started learning those riffs early on, and because of like sort of like that positive reinforcement of me learning it pretty quickly, and then me being able to hear, I create something and then hear it and then enjoy it. I think that just sort of picked up, and I don't think it's ever really stopped. Like, just me creating something, I love listening to it, and then I just keep going. So I would say that's the early influence of it. Now it's sort of just, I get influenced about like how I feel, and then I try to translate how I feel the best I can into a song. So that's usually, I try to keep it that way. That's like the purest, I guess, version of creating a song. But I would say that's what influences me now, for sure.
And then you're out of the DC area too. And, there's a talent-rich area there. I mean, you got the Virginia, Maryland, DC area, and there's a lot of musicians coming out of that area right there. So how do you fit into that space? I mean, there's a lot of places to play there. And, so do you find yourself, gigging quite a bit there in DC, and what's the response been for you?
Yeah, it's more recently, I've been gigging more in New York. So I was in New York. I've always had a fascination with New York, and the previous single I had was called Movie Star, which was kind of like this love letter to New York City. And I was living there last year just because it was one of the things. I had some gigs lined up. I was like, let me just move there. Let me enjoy my summer living in New York City, and it was amazing as predicted. And yeah, more recently it's been up there. Like, I did a couple of gigs there over the summer. And the last one we had was in Delancey, which is a club sort of in Lower East Side, and we had like a lot of friends and family come out, and it was really fun. It was awesome. But that was the last big show I did. Now I've moved to the DC area, so this year is another goal of mine to start gigging more around the area. But yeah, I played in DC, I played in the Northern Virginia area, that sort of thing. So it's definitely a cool scene. It's also kind of, as far as like Northern Virginia goes, it's cool because it has like a mix of culture. Like, it has the Virginia feel, so there is actually kind of like a country or soul feel uh in Virginia, obviously, but Nova's sort of the middle for people that are listening that don't know. Nova's Northern Virginia, which is right outside DC. So it still has like sort of that DC flavor, which is a little more cultural, even more urban. And then you have some of the Virginia, which is maybe more soul, acoustic, singer-songwriter, country. So it kind of creates like a cool music scene. And these places that you go to play are pretty eclectic. It's not just like one type of music, I think, because of that. Obviously, if you go further down south or up north, it'll be different. But the scene is cool. It's supportive too. I feel like it's a pretty supportive, encouraging music scene. Um, but I feel like if you were to ask me, at least right now, I think my style and sort of where I fits a little bit more in where I was playing in New York. Um, and it's just a little bit, New York is a little bit more, it's more of like a breeding ground for artists, I think. Um, and the live music scene is obviously is thriving over there. So yeah, I mean they're both cool, but I would say like right now, I'm interested in going and playing in New York again for sure.
Well, nowadays with the technology, I mean, when I grew up in the '80s, I mean, you had to go into a studio to make an album and to get it distributed with,
Yeah.
get signed basically with somebody. But with right now with the streaming services and everything, you can even collaborate with people that aren't in your same town. I mean,
Yeah.
cut tracks and so forth. So do you record in your house or recording studio? How do you do that?
Yeah, I've pretty much always done it in-house in my own little studio that I've made. So if you're watching a video, you can see like I have the mic set up, I have my sign in the background, my keyboards, my pianos, like all that stuff, guitars over here. And I kind of like that. I don't know, maybe at one point it'll change where I'm like I'm gonna feel more inspired doing it in like renting out a studio or something like that. But as far as like getting songs out like whenever I want, it's perfect to just have it. Like you probably know, just having a studio, in your house is perfect just because you can go upstairs or go to the other room and then just, bring an idea to life that you just thought of, as opposed to like it's more of a barrier to entry than having like a recording studio elsewhere and then needing to, drive there, get up, do your thing, and then pay for it, obviously. Um, so yeah, I do everything in house. I write, I record, I sing, I play guitar, I produce it, I mix and pretty much master it on my own also. So I do like collaborating, but I think like I said, just getting ideas out when I want to, which is pretty important to me. I can do that all from the studio, and then release it the way that it works now with TuneCore, which is the music distribution platform. Like I can get things out whenever I want and sort of um time it in a way that like it can come out in 2 weeks if I want, or it can come out in a couple months if I want. And then yeah, it's just like I said, the barrier to entry is so it's so much easier now. You can just get stuff out instantaneously, which comes with some negatives also. But for me, I think it's perfect for someone that kind of does everything. I think it works in my favor. I think some people that don't do everything and that kind of rely on a lot of people for things, it can get a little tough. But in general, it is a lot easier to put out music.
No, you're right, and I think you made a good point about being in the house. So you could just go upstairs if you have a thought, write it down or even play it right then and there, and you don't have that option. But to go to the recording studio, and I get kind of a mixed bag when I ask that question because a lot of people like the feel of the recording studio and
Mhm.
just kind of that like whoever played there before you. It's almost like a spiritual experience. Some people will say, but I think recording in the house, I think like you said, like I have my home studio here too,
Mm.
and just be able to come upstairs and go on a podcast or like in your case write a song or do a line for your song. I think that's
Mm.
amazing. And the other thing about indie artists, we have a lot of people like I mentioned before that listen to our show that are independent artists, and talk about marketing because I think being an indie artist is great, but there's millions of people out there that also
Yeah.
want to have their song become a hit. And so how do you market yourself to kind of set yourself apart?
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend about this. We kind of go on these long rants about music and being an indie artist, but everyone just gets a smaller piece of the pie now. I think that's not even just artists. I think everyone in general, if you're posting, if you're a creator online, but I'll just speak about artists since we're talking about it. But I think everyone gets a smaller and smaller piece of the pie just because there are just so many people doing it, you know? Like I think there's like 100,000 tracks uploaded to the digital streaming platforms a day, and I don't know the exact number, but it's something crazy the amount of tracks that are on there now. I think it's like I don't know, hundreds of millions are out there, and 100,000 are uploaded every day. So obviously, like artists, you're just getting a smaller piece of the pie. Um, you just don't have as much. You have reach, but you don't have as much attention, if that makes sense. And I
Right,
think
right.
like yeah, so it can be difficult, I think, like, needing to shine through. I mean, it's become a total switch in terms of like it's like a quantity game. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think like if you're an artist, a lot of times like you you sort of think that like, it needs to be less but higher quality, which I think, that's maybe another way of thinking, which is also fine. But I think now it's sort of you just have to shift your mindset to thinking like, okay, like if everyone gets a smaller piece of the pie, I need to just create more and put more out there. It's the only way to sort of cut through. But obviously, you don't want to sacrifice any of the quality. That's I think the balance that everyone's trying to strike. Um, so marketing for me sort of I mean, I try to batch record content. Like I'll try to, over the weekends or something, just like take an hour or two and just record a bunch of videos. And then I edit everything myself, right? So I'll take the videos, I'll caption them. Um, I'll put either if it works with my song, I'll put my song underneath, try to put a caption that makes sense. And I want it to all be authentic too. I don't want it to be something that's hopping on a trend that I don't believe in or something like that. I try to make sure that I believe in what I'm doing or that it's entertaining, or I try to tell a story. Like I posted a clip on YouTube Shorts of me playing this guitar solo, like at that Delancey show I was talking about in New York. And, I sort of like tried to tell the story. It was like kind of like this 30-40 second guitar solo with the band. And like the captions were telling a story about like how, I got on stage and then like kind of, wait a little bit. Here's what happened when the band's in sync. It's kind of like this thing that leads you through. Um, I feel storytelling in the content is super, super important, but that's all to say. That one did really well. Like that was probably I think it was my highest viewed YouTube video. Um, and I think that's because the content I think should be valuable. It should be interesting. It should be engaging
Right.
throughout the whole thing. So that's what I try to do as far as marketing. Like I really try to make sure the content itself is not something I don't believe in, but it is something that I want to make sure that I'm consistently putting out there to like remind people, right?
Yeah.
Because like not everyone is even seeing every post that you're making. I think some people fear that like, am I going to be spammy or whatever? But most people, especially how Instagram works now, it's not even how it worked like a year or two ago. So like people are getting on there, they're not seeing your posts at all, but people think like I don't want to bother people. But I don't
Right.
know. The way I just try to put out as much as I can and be as authentic as I can, and hopefully, it reaches the right people.
Well, algorithms are I can't understand how it works. And because,
Hmm.
TikTok at one point when it was new, the algorithms, I mean, you could get thousands of followers in a day
Yeah.
with the algorithms, and they change, and using the right hashtag and the right tagging.
Yeah.
It's just it's almost like it's like a science almost, and but here's I was talking, it was funny because when you were talking, I was thinking about when I interviewed Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC. One of the things he mentioned about that same question was that you can have somebody that's not even really a true musician or is really an indie artist that's out there, busting it every day and every weekend, and but they'll put something out that gets millions of views, and then somebody who's working so hard at their craft
Mm.
doesn't get the same views. But it's almost like but it's a double-edged sword because if you don't have the streaming services, then you don't have any ability to reach anybody really,
Yeah.
unless you're, like I said, signed to a big major label. So and it's really interesting. I think that's why I asked that question about marketing, because I think, like you said, if it has substance to it, I think it gets more hits.
Hmm.
So, being an indie artist, though, I think one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what kind of advice you would have for another fellow indie artist, that wants to play live and record their music, and they're just getting started. Maybe they're just, out of school, or, maybe they're in high school,
Hmm.
they're a musician, they have no idea where to start. So what kind of advice can you give to somebody like that?
I would say probably just focus on the craft. And I think the rest will come.
Yeah.
Like it's very easy to get discouraged, especially like what we've been talking about, just like trying to cut through. Um, and everyone goes through it. I think like even artists, like major artists, like everyone is feeling like their work is kind of going unnoticed and they're not maybe compensated fairly for it. I mean, I think it's like on, for example, on Spotify, this is like deep cut stuff, but like for Spotify, I think like you get 1 million streams, you get paid $4,000. Um, so imagine like some artists who are doing really well, like they get a couple million streams. That's still not like a lot of money if you compare it to like how big they are. You know what I mean? So
Right,
like
right.
even major artists are, I'm sure, feeling discouraged. Because it just everyone gets, like I said, everyone gets a smaller piece of the pie. But I think it's important to just focus on the craft, and because that is why you are doing it in the first place. I
You
think
do it for yourself, right?
yeah, you're doing it for
Yeah.
yourself, you enjoy it. Um, and then the sort of stuff around it, that it's secondary. You know what I mean? Because even if you get it, it's not going to feel as good as creating that song does, or like doing, doing that podcast episode that you love doing. Like I would just say focus on the craft, and the rest, yeah, the rest will come. And you may not even want the rest when you get it. So like I think if you just focus on what you enjoy doing and what you're good at, I think you'll be fine.
Well, that's good. That's well said. And I guess what's that one venue that you've always wanted to play? I mean, what's the dream venue? Every artist has a dream venue that they really want to play. So what would that be? Next week or even 10 years from
Yeah,
now? What would that be?
I think a dream venue. I mean, there's the obvious dream venues, but I think like a venue that I think would be really awesome to play would be 930 Club in DC. Um, just because, I'm from the area and I feel like I've seen artists there that I really admire. Like I've heard about it since I was a young kid, and it also sort of still has like kind of a cool factor to it. It's not too mainstream, but it's like the place that people want to go. So I think 930 Club is a good answer. Um, and then yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
And playing guitar as well. And I've never asked this question. I've done a lot of episodes, but one thing I've always been fascinated with, because, I tried picking up the guitar at one point and I was able to
Hmm.
play a few songs, but I can never figure out how people play the guitar and sing at the same time and know what they're playing. So is it like
Yeah.
muscle memory? How do you
Yeah.
sing and play at the same time?
I guess it is muscle memory. I think like in my case, I think I started doing both just because I didn't like the feeling of just like playing a guitar and playing these riffs without hearing the singing on top of it. I just didn't like it, so I would do it myself. And I think just because of necessity, I'm like, I don't want to also sing with no instruments. So I would do them both together just because I enjoyed it. And I think it just sort of, yeah, it becomes second nature. I mean, obviously playing like solos and then singing over that is a little different, but I think I'm now at a point, I think, where I can play a little bit more complicated stuff on the guitar while singing on top of it. So, and I'm getting better every day, like everyone is. But yeah, it's a lot of people have asked me that. I think it seems pretty hard, but I think at a certain point it just kind of comes natural.
And it's
So
practice, right? Practice, practice,
yeah,
practice. That's another piece
exactly.
of advice I like to give whatever you're doing, no matter what it is, just, don't stop practicing because, that's how you're going to get better. And everybody that's, at the top, one thing they say is, don't stop practicing. Don't put your instrument down. And whether it's your voice or your guitar, whatever you play, what do you have coming up? I mean, what are you working on right now? I know you have the song Influencer, but what
Yep.
are you working on right now?
So yeah, Influencers out March 29th. Actually, I created sped up and slowed down versions of the song as well. So I'm actually Influencer is going to drop March 29th. The week after, we actually, me and a friend of mine, like we created this lyric video, and she sort of is like the lead in it. It's pretty simple. It's like a music lyric video that accompanies the song. So that's releasing the week after. Then the week after that is the sped up version. And then the week after that is a slowed down version. So just, things to extend the life of the song. And they also, I think they sound pretty cool, the sped up version and the slowed down version. On top of that, I work on music, like new music, pretty much every day if I can. So there's another song I have called Catch Me that I hopefully will come out soon, and I have like a whole music video idea for that. And then I have another song out that I don't know if I want to say a title because it's probably going to change, but like that's another one. It's kind of like the acoustic hip hop type of thing. And then like we have like another folky type of thing coming. So there's a lot of stuff coming. I'm always working on music, but influencer is definitely the main focus right now.
And then how can people find you online so they can follow you?
Yeah. Songs by Sohil. I don't know if you can read what's in the background here, but that's what that says. Songs by Sohil, Sohil. That's pretty much across the board on all the platforms. I'm trying to get just at Sohil on Instagram, but TBD on that. Let's see if that happens.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, great. You know, I ask this question of everybody, Sohil, but when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to leave behind to your fans when it's all said and done?
My legacy, I think just kind of what we've been talking about, just like someone that worked really hard and focused on the craft. You know, I never want to be in a place where I'm releasing songs that I don't believe in or that I'm just fixated on metrics and that could be money, it could be streams, that could be anything, but I never want to get to the place where it's like that's all someone's like that's all he cared about or anything like that. He didn't focus on the music, he lost his way a little bit. I think if I'm just like focusing on the music, I think the rest will come, you know. And I think I'd want to sort of pass that on, just like, you know, you can work hard and you can be super passionate about something, and you don't have to listen to the things that you know that you shouldn't be doing, even if it feels tempting to do. Like you can be passionate and super passionate, like to a point where you might be a little obsessive, but I think it's okay. Just focus on the craft, work really hard, and yeah, be happy in the work that you put in.
Yeah, that's great. You know, I appreciate you being on, taking the time, Sohil, to come on the show, and best of luck to you and everything you do in the future, and the song when it comes out the 29th called Influencer, March 29th. And, you know, again, you know, come back on the show again. Let us know what's happening in the future. Always welcome back. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dave.
Fell in love with a movie star. She invited me to an East Village bar that she owns. Her second apartment's in Soho. She took me to church on the subway. Went to go to Harlem for Gospel Sunday. Oh my God. Oh my God. What if